Let's talk about the moment you finally stop chasing. The moment you stop explaining yourself to someone who never listens, the moment you stop defending yourself for things you didn't even do. You know that moment when you're standing in another argument or another text storm, and suddenly you feel something shift inside you? You realize that no matter what you say, they're not hearing you. They're hearing the story they've already written about you. That moment right there, that's your wake-up call. Because it's the first time your nervous system whispers, wait, why am I still fighting to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding me? I've been there. I know how hard it is to stop chasing validation. It feels like giving up. It feels like losing. Because for so long, you've been trained to believe that peace only comes after you fix things. But what if I told you that peace comes the second you stop trying to fix what didn't break you? When you stop chasing the person who thrives on chaos, something incredible happens. They lose control. Not control over you, control over the story they told themselves about you. And that drives them insane. You see, for a narcissist, your reactions are oxygen. They don't care if it's love, anger, or tears, as long as it's energy that revolves around them. They measure their importance by how much space they take up in your mind. Every argument, every late night text, every apology becomes a refill for their ego. So when you stop feeding that energy, when you go quiet, they don't know what to do with the silence. They'll call you cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll twist it into something cruel because your peace threatens the control they thought they had. But here's what's really happening. You've woken up. You've realized that you don't have to beg to be respected. You've realized your peace is not up for debate. You've realized that silence isn't weakness, it's strength that finally stopped explaining itself. I want you to understand something powerful. You're not losing them when you walk away. You're reclaiming yourself, your time, your sanity, your energy, your truth. And one day, you'll look back on this exact moment and realize that silence was the loudest thing you ever said. Silence is misunderstood. People think it means avoidance or indifference. But when it comes from awareness and self-control, silence is power. It's the moment you decide that you no longer have to participate in chaos to prove your worth. It's the moment you stop handing your peace over to someone who feeds on taking it. So if you're sitting here thinking, but Mel, what do I do now? How do I stop reacting? How do I take that silence and actually make it work for me? Stay with me. Because in the next part, we're going to talk about exactly why narcissists crave control, how your reactions fuel their power, and how your quiet becomes your revolution. Let's be honest, when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it's not love anymore. It's control dressed up as connection. It's manipulation wearing the mask of concern. They don't want partnership. They want power. And here's the hard truth most people never realize. You're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the feeling of being needed, seen, or chosen, even if that feeling is fake. Let's pull the curtain back on what's really happening here. A narcissist feeds on reaction. They thrive on it. It's their currency. When they provoke you, when they twist your words, mock your tone, roll their eyes, they're not trying to communicate. They're trying to collect. Every time you defend yourself, every time you explain your side, every time you send another long text trying to clear things up, they win because they got what they wanted. Your energy. You see, to them, your emotion equals importance. If you're reacting, they matter. If you're silent, they disappear. That's why they can't stand your quiet. It's not about the words. It's about the loss of attention. Your attention is the mirror that reflects their illusion of power back to them. And when you stop reflecting, they panic. They scramble. They start calling love bombing, guilt tripping, accusing, crying, anything to pull you back into the dance. That's not love. That's desperation because they've lost their supply. Here's what's really going on. Every argument, every silent treatment, every mind game is about control, not understanding. You could explain your feelings for hours. You could pour out your heart, but they're not listening to you. They're scanning for one thing, an opening, a place to regain control. And let's call this what it is, emotional extortion. They take your compassion and use it against you. They take your empathy and turn it into obedience. They take your desire for peace and twist it into permission for their behavior. That's why the cycle never ends. You think, if I just say it differently this time, maybe they'll get it. But they don't want to get it. Because if they understood you, they'd lose their control. When you realize that, everything changes. You stop trying to win the argument because you see there was never an argument to win. There was only a strategy to keep you engaged. You stop waiting for accountability because accountability would destroy the illusion of superiority they're addicted to. And you start to see the chaos isn't random, it's engineered. They create it so you'll chase calm. They withdraw love so you'll beg for it. They confuse you so you'll come back for clarity. Every reaction from you proves the manipulation is working. So the real shift, the moment your healing begins, is when you decide, I'm not playing anymore. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you've started caring about yourself more. When you understand this dynamic, silence stops feeling like surrender. It starts feeling like strategy. Because silence isn't passive, it's a boundary. It's the invisible wall that says, you don't get to use my attention as your fuel anymore. And from that moment forward, everything changes, not because they've changed, but because you have. Your silence becomes the mirror that reflects truth, not illusion. It shows them their power was never real. It was borrowed from your reactions, your empathy, your energy, and you can take all of that back the second you stop participating in their performance. You see, once you truly grasp this power dynamic, you're ready to step into something much deeper, something that changes how your brain, your emotions, and your energy respond to manipulation. In the next section, we're going to unpack the psychology of silence, why it feels so uncomfortable at first, why it works on a biological level, and how it becomes your most powerful form of emotional self-control. Silence. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But when you've lived in chaos long enough, silence feels unbearable. It's like standing in an empty room after a storm. The noise is gone, but so is the distraction. And now, all that's left is you. That's why silence feels so hard at first, because in the stillness, your mind starts screaming all the questions you've been too busy to hear. Did I do enough? Will they ever change? Was it my fault? You start second guessing yourself. You feel the urge to text back, explain, clarify, fix, anything to fill the space that their noise used to occupy. But here's what I want you to understand. That discomfort you feel when you stop reacting, that's not weakness, that's withdrawal. Your brain has been trained to associate chaos with connection. Every argument, every apology, every high and low in that toxic cycle created a pattern, a chemical addiction to unpredictability. It's not love. It's cortisol and dopamine in a tug of war. So when you finally step out of that pattern and choose silence, your nervous system panics. It starts craving the familiar, even if the familiar is pain. That's why so many people go back, not because they want the person, but because they miss the pattern. But listen to me, silence is how you break the pattern. In neuroscience, there's something called the pause power. It's the space between trigger and response. That tiny space, just a few seconds long, is where your freedom lives. When you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and choose silence instead of reaction, you're rewiring your brain. You're teaching your mind that safety isn't found in chaos anymore. It's found in calm. You're creating a new association. Silence equals control. Calm equals strength. No reaction equals power. Every time you hold that pause, you weaken the old loop that says, if I don't respond, I'll lose them. Because the truth is, you're not losing them. You're losing the illusion that your words could ever change them. Silence is your psychological boundary. It's the invisible line that says, You can perform all you want, but I'm not the audience anymore. And here's what's wild. The brain doesn't just learn by thinking, it learns by repetition. So every time you choose silence instead of reaction, you reinforce a new neural pathway that says, I'm safe when I stay calm. That's how emotional reprogramming works. You're literally teaching your nervous system that peace is no longer dangerous. And let me tell you something, the first time you sit in that silence and realize the world didn't end, that's the moment your healing begins. Because you start to see that the chaos wasn't keeping you safe, it was keeping you small. You start to notice that you can feel an emotion without acting on it. You start to realize that silence doesn't mean you've lost your voice, it means you've found your power. So when the silence feels uncomfortable, good. That's your brain detoxing from dysfunction. Stay in it, breathe through it. That quiet space you're in right now, that's your mind learning peace for the first time in a long time. And when you learn to sit in that stillness, you stop being reactive and you start being intentional. You begin to build a different kind of power, one that doesn't need to be loud to be heard. Because silence isn't absence. Silence is awareness. And awareness is where every transformation begins. Now that you understand what's happening inside you, how silence reshapes your psychology and rewires your nervous system, we can move to the next step. Let's get practical. You've heard me talk about the 5-second rule before, that simple little countdown that can change everything. And now I want to show you how to use it when you're dealing with someone who feeds on your reaction. Because when you're up against a narcissist, your emotions are their playground. They know exactly how to pull the strings. Your empathy, your guilt, your fear of being misunderstood. They want to see you spiral. That's how they know they still have you. So here's what you're going to do the next time that trigger hits. The next time your phone lights up with that name, the next time you feel that rush in your chest, that pressure to defend yourself, to fix it, to make them see your side, you're going to pause and you're going to count backward. R-E, that's it. No reaction, no response, no explanation. Just 5 seconds that belong completely to you. You see, when you count backward, something powerful happens in your brain. You interrupt what psychologists call the habit loop. The counting activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision making, not impulse. In plain English, you stop reacting from emotion and start responding from awareness. And that moment, those 5 seconds are where your power begins. You might feel it rise up, the urge to text, to explain, to prove them wrong. That's your old programming kicking in. That's the part of you that was trained to earn peace by chasing it, but not anymore. Now, you use those 5 seconds to do something radical. Nothing. You breathe. You let the silence hang. You let them feel the absence of your reaction, because in that space, you take back control not of them, but of yourself. Let's make it real. They send a guilt-laced message like, I guess you're too busy for me now. Old you? You'd rush in. No, that's not true. I've just been overwhelmed. New you? R, suit, san, R. You set the phone down. You walk away. You breathe. They don't get your energy this time. Or maybe you're on a call and they start twisting your words. The frustration builds. You feel that fire in your chest. You want to interrupt, defend, correct. Instead, you pause. Wu, si, sen, ah, ah. You choose silence. You let the moment pass. That's not weakness. That's command. And I'll be honest, the first few times you do this, it'll feel wrong. You'll feel that pull, that need to break the silence, to clarify, to smooth things over. But I promise you, every time you resist that urge, you're retraining your brain. You're teaching it. I don't have to react to be powerful. This rule works because it gives you something. Narcissists can't stand unpredictability. They know your old pattern. They know what buttons to push and what words to use to make you spin. But when you pause, when you count down and refuse to play, you become unreadable. And that unpredictability terrifies them because suddenly they're no longer the director of the drama. You are, let me make this clear. This rule isn't about being cold. It's about being conscious. You're not punishing them, you're protecting yourself. Every time you use the 5-second rule, you're creating a micro moment of awareness, a mental reset that says, I choose peace over chaos. And those moments add up. 5 seconds here, 10 seconds there. Soon, you've created hours, then days, then weeks of freedom from their control. Because it's not the silence that changes your life, it's the choice behind it. When you master this, you'll start to notice something incredible. You'll feel calmer. You'll think clearer. You'll stop apologizing for things you didn't do. You'll realize that you can sit in the discomfort of silence without reaching for chaos to fill it. That's emotional detachment, not apathy, not coldness, but clarity. So here's what I want you to remember every time you feel pulled back into that old pattern. Your power begins the moment you stop explaining yourself to people who only listen to control you. Count it down, 148 dot, and choose silence. That's not avoidance. That's alignment. That's emotional freedom in action. Now let's get real. It's one thing to understand the 5-second rule. It's another to use it when your phone lights up, your heart races, and your mind starts replaying every fight, every insult, maybe this time will be different. This is where the real work begins. Because the people who thrive on control, they're masters at pulling you back in. They've studied you, they know your soft spots, and they know exactly how to make you doubt yourself. So let's walk through what this actually looks like in real life, when you're tested, when you're tempted, and when the silence feels like it's burning through you. Scenario 1, the bait. They'll throw out the line. Something small, something designed to hook you. Maybe it's a text that says, wow, I guess I don't matter anymore. Or you've really changed, not in a good way. You feel that pull instantly, that urge to explain, to fix, to prove that you're not the villain in their story. But this time, you don't take the bait. You stop, you breathe, you count down, Wu, Si, Sen, A, E. And you say to yourself, this is bait. My silence is my boundary. You put the phone down. You don't respond because here's the truth. They don't want a resolution. They want a reaction. They want proof that they still control your emotions. And when you give them silence, you take that proof away. That's not weakness. That's power under control. Scenario 2, the replay trap. This one's sneaky. They'll come back and say, can we just talk it out? They'll sound calm, reasonable, mature. But what they really mean is, can we reopen the same wound so I can remind you how to bleed? They don't want healing. They want access. So when you hear, I just want closure, translate it. It means, I want to reopen the cycle. Here's your move. You don't defend. You don't explain. You say, we've already talked about this. And then silence. You might feel that pang, that instinct to fill the pause, to soften it, to justify. But don't. You're not responsible for managing their discomfort. That silence is your line in the sand. It says, the conversation is over, and so is the manipulation. Scenario 3, the guilt hook. This one hurts the most because it sounds like love. They say things like, I just miss the old you, or you used to be so kind. What happened? And just like that, the guilt rushes in. You start thinking, maybe I am too cold. Maybe I should explain myself one more time. Stop. That's not love talking. That's control wearing love's costume. Here's your truth. You haven't become cruel. You've become clear. And clarity always feels like rejection to someone who benefited from your confusion. So the next time they try to guilt you, count down. We, sir, san, ar, e, and say to yourself, I don't owe anyone access to me just because they miss the version of me that had no boundaries. Silence is your refusal to return to that version. Scenario 4, the nice phase. Sometimes when your silence starts working, they flip the script. Suddenly they're sweet again, affectionate, nostalgic. They remember your favorite song. They send old photos. They say, I've been thinking about us. And a part of you, the part that still hopes, wants to believe it's real this time, but it's not. It's bait wrapped in sentiment. You've seen this movie before. The beginning always looks beautiful because it hides the ending. Don't fall for the rewrite. Use your 5 seconds. Pause. Remind yourself, if it took silence to make them act kind, it's not kindness, it's panic. You don't chase peace that only exists when you stop resisting control. Scenario 5, the confrontation. What about when they push hard? When they accuse you of being heartless, dramatic, or cruel, this is where silence becomes your shield. You don't argue. You don't defend. You say calmly, I'm not available for this conversation. And you walk away. They'll get louder. They'll throw accusations. They'll twist it. Let them, because silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've stopped negotiating your worth. And when you stop negotiating, they start unraveling. Reflection. Building the habit of emotional control. After each of these moments, when you stay quiet, when you don't text back, when you walk away, I want you to track it. Write it down. Note the time, the situation, the feeling, and what you did instead. That's how you build emotional muscle. Because emotional control isn't something you wake up with, it's something you practice. One pause at a time, one silence at a time, one decision at a time. And as you practice, something incredible starts to happen. Your peace starts lasting longer. The noise starts losing power. You realize that every time you choose silence, you're not losing control. You're reclaiming it. You're no longer reacting to manipulation. You're responding to truth. And that truth is this: you don't need to fight for your peace. You just need to stop giving it away. So you've stopped reacting. You've stayed silent. You've stepped out of the argument, and you can feel the difference, that strange mix of peace and panic. And now you're wondering, what happens next? This is where it gets real, because the moment you stop playing the game, they start changing the rules. Let me prepare you, because this part, it's messy, it's emotional, and it's where most people break. When you go silent, when you stop defending and explaining, you create a vacuum. And narcissists can't handle vacuums. They feed off your reaction, remember? So when you stop providing it, they scramble. They start trying to pull you back into the dance any way they can. They'll send texts that sound kind. I miss you, can we talk? Or they'll send ones that cut deep. You're so cold now. What happened to you? And sometimes they'll swing between both, kindness 1 hour, cruelty the next. Not because they're changing, but because they're losing control. That chaos you see, that's not love. That's withdrawal. They're losing their supply. And your silence is the detox. Here's what I need you to understand. Their reaction doesn't mean you did something wrong. It means your boundary worked. When they panic, that's proof you've disrupted the control cycle. You're no longer reacting the way they need you to. They may accuse you of being heartless. They may run to other people to tell their side of the story. They may try to guilt you, shame you, even make you question your sanity. Let them talk. Let them twist. Let them perform, because your silence isn't about them, it's about you. This is the part where silence starts to feel powerful and painful at the same time. You'll feel that ache, that tug to break the silence just to make the tension stop. You'll want to explain yourself, to defend your decision, to prove you're not the villain they've painted you to be. But don't. That urge is the old pattern, calling your name. That's the addiction to chaos, whispering, come back. It'll feel better if you just fix it. It won't. If you respond, you reset the cycle. You hand them back the control you just took away. Here's what happens next. They'll escalate. At first, they'll reach out softly, the nostalgic phase. They'll talk about memories, shared moments, how good it used to be. When that doesn't work, they'll provoke you, try to make you angry, jealous, guilty. When that fails, they'll smear you, tell everyone you're the problem, you're unstable, you've changed. And you know what? Let them. Because people who know you. And the ones who believe their lies, they were never your peace to begin with. During this phase, your job isn't to fight back, it's to stay grounded, to hold steady in the quiet you've created. So when the panic rises, remind yourself, I'm not ignoring them. I'm protecting myself. Their reaction is not my responsibility. Peace feels uncomfortable at first because it's new. Repeat that until it feels true, because it is. You are breaking an emotional pattern that's been running your life. You are choosing discomfort now so you can have freedom later. Silence is not a wall, it's a doorway. You're walking through it out of chaos and into clarity. And here's something beautiful. The longer you hold your silence, the quieter they become. Not because they've found peace, but because you've stopped supplying theirs. They'll move on to find another audience, another person to react, another source of attention. It'll sting at first, seeing them act unaffected, but don't mistake their speed for healing. It's not peace, it's avoidance. Meanwhile, you're learning something they never will: how to live without needing someone else to validate your calm. So yes, this phase will feel like withdrawal, because it is. But it's not withdrawal from them. It's withdrawal from the chaos you mistook for love. That silence you're holding, it's not empty. It's healing. It's sacred. It's the sound of your nervous system resetting, your boundaries strengthening, your self-respect returning. And as you sit in that quiet, something powerful begins to rise, a sense of steadiness that no one can take from you again. Because once you've tasted peace after chaos, you'll never chase noise again. You've survived the chaos. You've held the silence. Now it's time to do something you might not have done in a long time. Reclaim your energy. For so long, your entire emotional world revolved around their moods, their words, their silence, their reactions. You were trained to scan the temperature of the room before you could even feel your own emotions. That ends today. Because the moment you stop feeding someone else's ego, you get to start feeding your own soul again. Let's talk about what that really means. When you detach from a narcissist, there's a void, a big, empty space that used to be filled with anxiety, overthinking, explaining, fixing. And if you're not careful, you'll fill that space with more of the same, new distractions, new chaos, new noise. But that space, that's your healing ground. That's where your real life begins again. You've got to learn to reintroduce yourself to your own peace. Start small. Start practical. 1, the morning reset. When you wake up, before you reach for your phone, before you scroll, before you check if they've texted stop, take a breath, put your hand over your heart and say, my peace is not up for debate. Say it out loud. Say it like a declaration. You are reminding your brain that the day belongs to you now. 2, the 3-second energy check. Throughout your day, stop and ask, who or what has my energy right now? If the answer isn't you, that's your cue to pull it back. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a message you keep replaying in your head. Maybe it's the echo of a fight that ended months ago. Close your eyes, breathe in, and visualize yourself pulling that energy back, not from them, but from the version of you who keeps handing it away. Because every thought you spend on someone who doesn't respect you is energy you could be spending on rebuilding you. 3, grounding rituals. Healing isn't just emotional, it's physical. When your body has lived in survival mode, it needs reminders of safety. So do something that brings you back into your body. Take a walk, stand in the sunlight. Write 1 sentence in a journal every night. These moments aren't small. They're rewiring your nervous system. You're showing your body that calm isn't dangerous anymore. And little by little, peace starts to feel familiar again. 4, the no contact affirmation. Every time you resist checking their profile, every time you stop yourself from responding to a bait text, you're exercising emotional discipline. Remind yourself, silence isn't punishment, it's preservation. That's not a quote to memorize, that's a mindset to live by. Because the truth is, your silence isn't about them anymore. It's about what your energy is worth and who gets access to it. Bingo. Reclaiming joy. You may not realize it yet, but joy takes courage after trauma because for a while, happiness will feel unsafe. You'll catch yourself waiting for the next storm, expecting peace to be temporary. That's normal. That's your body protecting you. But you can retrain it by allowing small moments of joy, again, music, laughter, time with friends, creativity. You've spent so much time in reaction that it's time to start creating. Every smile, every laugh, every deep breath, that's energy. Returning home. 6. The gratitude anchor. Before you go to bed, I want you to write down one thing. Where did I choose peace today? That's your proof of progress because you won't feel healed all at once. Healing doesn't happen in a big breakthrough. It happens in 100 quiet moments where you choose not to go backward. 7, rebuilding trust with yourself. Let's be honest, you might not trust yourself fully right now. You've second-guessed every decision. You've walked on eggshells so long that calm feels suspicious. But I promise you, you can trust yourself again. Every time you stay silent instead of reacting, you build that trust. Every time you say no without guilt, you build that trust. Every time you put your energy into growth instead of chaos, you build that trust. And that's the foundation of real confidence, not the loud, performative kind, but the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I don't chase what costs me my peace. You see, reclaiming your energy isn't just about rest, it's about redirection. You're taking the same power you once gave to the wrong people and using it to build the right life. You're not the same person who started this journey. You're calmer now, clearer, stronger, and the energy that once fueled chaos is now fueling purpose. Because once you reclaim your energy, you start realizing something profound. You were never powerless. You were just exhausted from giving your power away. And now you're done. This is where everything changes. This is where you stop identifying as the person who reacts and start becoming the person who decides. For a long time, your identity was built around surviving someone else's chaos. You learned to read moods like weather reports. You learned to predict their storms before they hit. You learned to apologize for peace that was never yours to begin with. But that version of you, the one who lived in constant reaction, that's not who you are anymore. You're not that person who explains, defends, or begs to be seen. You're the person who recognizes truth, chooses calm, and walks away with peace. This is your identity shift from reaction to power. Let me show you how it happens. At first, silence feels like survival. You use it to protect yourself. You're trying not to get hurt again. But with time, silence becomes something else. It becomes sovereignty. You start realizing that silence isn't hiding, it's holding. It's holding your energy, your self-respect, your boundaries. It's standing in your truth without needing anyone else to confirm it. And the longer you live in that truth, the more your identity starts to rebuild from the inside out. Step 1, redefine what strength looks like. Strength used to mean endurance. It used to mean surviving another argument, forgiving one more betrayal, staying calm while being disrespected. But now, strength means walking away. It means saying, no, this doesn't feel right for me anymore. It means choosing silence when chaos comes calling. It means deciding that your peace matters more than being understood. Because power isn't loud. It's steady. It's quiet. It's knowing you can respond but choosing not to. Step 2, reclaim the right to be misunderstood. Let me tell you something that'll free you faster than anything else. You are allowed to be misunderstood. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to prove your reasons. You don't owe anyone a justification for choosing peace. Because people who benefit from your chaos will always call your calm cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're selfish. Good. Let them. You're not here to convince them. You're here to become you. Step 3, choose presence over proof. The old you lived to prove something, your loyalty, your love, your worth. The new you lives to be present. Present says, I don't need to prove anything anymore. I know who I am. Presence is power. It's walking into a room without the need to fix the energy. It's hearing a lie about you and not needing to correct it. It's knowing your truth is louder than any rumor. When you stop living for proof, you start living for peace. Step 4, build the boundary mindset. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors. They don't shut people out. They protect the environment within. And here's the key. Strong boundaries don't need strong explanations. A simple no is enough. A lack of response is enough. Silence is enough. Because boundaries aren't about control, they're about clarity. They don't say, I don't care about you. They say, I care about myself too. That's real self-respect. Step 5, let power feel peaceful. This part will surprise you because peace can feel strange at first. It'll feel quiet, almost boring. You'll miss the adrenaline, the highs and lows, the emotional roller coaster. That's normal. That's your body detoxing from drama. But once you settle into real peace, you'll realize it's not boring, it's beautiful. It's focus. It's freedom. It's finally being able to hear your own voice again. Because true power isn't intensity, it's intention. Step 6, anchor your new identity. Every morning, remind yourself who you are becoming. Say it out loud if you have to. I am not reactive. I am responsive. I am not loud. I am powerful. I am not chasing peace. I am peace. That's not just a mantra. That's a declaration of identity. And the more you repeat it, the more your brain accepts it as truth. This is how you reprogram yourself from the inside out. Because who you are is not defined by who hurt you. It's defined by who you chose to become after they did. You are not the story they told about you. You are the author now. You are the voice, the silence, the calm in the storm. You've turned your reaction into power and your silence into strength. So from this point forward, every time someone tries to drag you back into chaos, I want you to remember this. My energy is not an open invitation. My silence is not surrender. My peace is my power. And you walk away head high, heart steady, and spirit unshaken. Because the version of you that reacts is gone. The version of you that chooses peace, that's the real you, and she's here to stay. Let me leave you with a story, because sometimes it's not the lesson that changes you. It's the moment you see yourself in someone else's breakthrough. A woman came up to me after an event once, tears in her eyes, shaking a little, holding her phone like it was made of glass. She said, Mel, I finally stopped responding. I said, tell me what happened. She said, he texted. The same kind of message he always sent, just enough kindness to hook me, just enough guilt to keep me explaining. And I almost did it again. I almost wrote the whole paragraph defending myself. But then I heard your voice in my head say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. And I did. I put the phone down. I went for a walk. I didn't text back. And that silence, it was the most peaceful thing I've felt in years. She said he spiraled. He sent 10 more messages. Then he went silent. But I didn't. I stayed calm. For the first time, I didn't lose myself trying to calm him. And in that quiet, I found me. That's what this is about. Not winning, not proving, not getting them to understand. It's about coming home to yourself, to that steady, grounded, peaceful version of you who doesn't chase what destroys her calm. You've spent so long trying to be heard by people who refuse to listen. You've twisted yourself into explanations, apologies, and second chances, all for someone who never intended to meet you halfway. And yet, here you are, still standing, still healing, still learning how to be quiet, not out of fear, but out of strength. That silence you're holding now, that's not absence, that's presence. It's the sound of you returning to your power. Because silence is not empty. It's full of lessons, full of clarity, full of the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout to be heard. When you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you stop chasing, that's when you start becoming. You begin to realize that your peace was never something someone else could give you. It was always something you had to protect. Let me tell you this truth, and I want you to write it somewhere. You'll see it. You don't lose people when you choose peace. You lose chaos. You lose confusion. You lose the version of you that needed to be chosen to feel worthy. You don't need to prove your worth anymore. You don't need to fix people who refuse to fix themselves. You don't need to explain your boundaries to people committed to crossing them. Your peace is the final word. Your silence is the answer. And your calm is the revolution. So as you walk forward from this moment, I want you to remember every time you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're not just stopping a reaction. You're stepping into a new identity. The identity of someone who doesn't chase validation. The identity of someone who doesn't mistake chaos for love. The identity of someone who knows, I don't have to be loud to be powerful. I don't have to fight to be free. I don't have to explain my peace. I just have to live it. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you'll wake up and the silence that once felt heavy will feel like air. You'll breathe differently. You'll move differently. You'll wake up and you won't think about them first. You'll think about you. And that's when you'll know you didn't lose anything worth keeping. You found everything you were missing. Because the moment you stopped chasing them, you started walking back towards yourself. And that right there is the loudest, strongest, most life-changing thing you'll ever say. Without saying a word,